Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to jump right in and demystify the data science methodology. It's basically the roadmap that helps us turn raw, messy data into really powerful solutions.
So first up, we're going to look at the big picture, kind of like the map for any data science project. Then we'll zoom in on the first two absolutely critical stages, how you go from just a vague idea to a concrete plan, and then how you figure out exactly what data you're going to need to collect.
All right, picture this. You've got a massive, complex data problem. Where do you even start? How do you tackle it without getting totally lost? This is the fundamental challenge for every data scientist. And the answer isn't just about getting more data. It's about having a solid, structured plan. Well, that plan has a name. It's called a methodology. And I know that sounds kind of formal, but really, just think of it as a roadmap for your project. It's what keeps everything organized, saves a ton of time and money, and most importantly, makes sure you end up at the right destination.
Now, the specific roadmap we're going to be walking through was actually developed by a data scientist at IBM named John Rollins. And this is a big deal because he broke down the super complex process into 10 clear, distinct stages. This isn't just some theory. It's a foundational framework that's used to guide huge AI projects from the first idea all the way to the finish line. Okay, and here it is, the whole shebang, the 10-step methodology. Now, the first thing you've got to notice is that this is not a straight line. It's a loop, a cycle. That feedback arrow goes right back to the beginning. That's what makes this a living, breathing process that's always evolving and getting smarter. Okay, I get it. 10 steps can sound a little intimidating. So to make things easier, we can group them into 5 main modules. And for today, we're going to zero in on the first 2, which honestly are the most important ones for getting any project off the ground, going from problem to approach, and then from requirements to collection. All right, let's dive into Module 1. This is all about how you take a fuzzy idea and turn it into a rock-solid plan by defining the problem and picking the right path forward.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with this one simple but super powerful question. What problem are we actually trying to solve here? This first step, business understanding, is all about digging deep and talking to the stakeholders to figure out what they truly need, which, believe me, isn't always what they first ask for.
So to make this less abstract, let's use a quick story. Meet Mr. Pavin. He's at a food festival, but he has some health concerns, and he has no idea what's in the food. He just wishes there was an easy way to figure it out. That right there, that's our business problem. So how do we go from a vague wish to something we can actually work on? Well, we can use this awesome, simple tool called the 5W1H framework. Just by asking who, what, where, when, why, and how, we can sharpen that vague idea into a focused, answerable question. And this flowchart just lays it all out perfectly. You start with the stakeholder, that's Mr. Pavan. You defined his problem. The dishes aren't categorized. That sparks a question. Hey, can we predict the cuisine from the ingredients? And boom, that leads us to our goal. Build a model to classify the dishes. See that? We just went from a simple human need to a clear, technical objective.
Okay, so we've got our goal locked in. Now comes the next big question. How are we actually going to use data to answer it? This is the analytic approach stage.
Now, this is where we need to pick the right tool for the job. There are 4 main types of analytics, and they kind of build on each other. Descriptive is like looking in the rearview mirror. It just tells you what happened. Diagnostic is figuring out why it happened. Then things get really cool. Predictive analytics looks ahead, trying to forecast what's going to happen. And the most powerful of all, prescriptive, tells you what you should do about it. It's an incredible journey from just looking at the past to actually shaping the future. So, which path is ours? Well, if we wanted to predict a number, like how much will this dish cost, we'd use regression. If we wanted to find natural groups, like what are the different types of foodies here, we'd use clustering. But for Mr. Pavan, our question is, which category does this dish belong to? Italian, Mexican, Japanese? That makes our choice crystal clear. We need a classification model. All right, we've defined our problem, we've picked our analytic path. Now it's time to gather our supplies. This kicks off Module 2, going from data requirements to data collection. The first question we have to ask here is, what data do we actually need? And this is super important. The analytic approach we just chose, classification, is what dictates the exact kind of data we have to go find. Let's stick with that food analogy. Just like a recipe needs specific ingredients, our model needs the right data ingredients to work.
So for our cuisine classifier, what do we need? Well, a list of dishes, their official cuisine, and of course, the most important part, a complete list of all their ingredients.
Okay, so we know what ingredients we need. Now we have to think about what form they'll be in. Are we going to find them all nice and tidy in a spreadsheet in organized tables? That's what we call structured data. Or is it going to be messy, like just raw text copied from a bunch of different recipe websites? That's unstructured data. Big difference.
So we've got our shopping list of data requirements. The next logical step is, well, we gotta go shopping. Where can we actually find all this data?
Generally speaking, you've got two main options here. We can go out and collect it ourselves from scratch. That's called primary data. Think of doing surveys or interviews. Or to save a ton of time, we can use secondary data. That's stuff that already exists that someone else put together. You can find this on websites, in public data sets, you name it.
And look, the number of ways to collect data is massive. You've got the old school methods like interviews, but you've also got high-tech stuff like web scraping or pulling data from sensors. The key thing isn't to be an expert in all of them. It's about picking the right tool that fits your project, your budget, and your timeline. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of where we are. We started with business understanding to really nail down our goal. Then we chose our analytic approach, which for us was classification. That told us our data requirements, our ingredient list, and finally, we figured out our data collection plan. You see how these first 4 steps just lock together? They build the entire foundation for the project. And, this quote really sums it up perfectly. By thoroughly understanding the problem at hand and formulating a clear approach, the stage is set for effective decision-making and problem-solving. I mean, that's it, right? Getting these 4 steps right is everything, because it makes sure that all the hard work we're about to do is pointed in the exact right direction. So we've got a solid plan and we know where we're going to get our data. But that leads to the next big question, maybe the biggest one yet. What do you do with this mountain of raw, messy data once you have it? How do you actually turn it into something useful? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into in part 2.